about these motherfuckers. It's time to go. All I want to do is fucking eat.
We're not practicing to beat somebody. We're practicing to beat everybody.
Nowhere to run and nowhere to hide for 4 quarters. They got to see us in our house for 4 quarters. They got to look us in the eye for 4. This is about us and our family and our house. This is about us. This is our mentality. We ain't backing down. We ain't running. Set a tone, send a message. This is our house. Physical toughness wins in football now. And if you in this room, you got it. If you come in here, you better believe in it. Because this physical toughness is what makes the difference. Elite focus. That's all I do to the guy across from me. I'm fixing to whip his ass. Not in my box. Not today. It's about us. It's about our family. We attack. You take that helmet and you strike them. And you strike them and you strike them. That's how you get respect.
Now I am gonna pick shit out of them. Physically, I want to break them.
There it is. Did we not hear the video? You got me now? I hope you do. Everybody, let me know, please. Sorry, this is the inaugural run here with some new stuff. So drop it in the chat and let me know if we finally got audio here. My apologies. My apologies. If you could let me know, that'd be great. You should have audio now. I see audio on my end, so it should be good. There was no audio off the top during the countdown because that was again, we're trying new things. We're seeing how that works. I may put some audio on that in the future. But right now we're just checking it all out. So I can go through all this again. I appreciate y'all being here. And one of the things that we're doing tonight is breaking in a new idea. And I've been putting off doing a live stream. I mean, I've done a couple on TikTok and places like that, but I've been putting it off here on YouTube because just to catch you guys up, let's go through a little housekeeping here. We watched, thank you, Harry, I appreciate that. We launched A Damn Beast Media on February 14th of this year. And like I say in my introductory video that's on the website, A Damn Beast Media it's a passion project for me because I've been a professional journalist, sports journalist, covering college football for the last 25 years. But I wanted to do something that allowed me to be a bit more of a fan. So when you come to A Damn Beast, that's what you're going to get is a fan's perspective, but it's also I'm going to come at it from the angle of a journalist. So hopefully you'll get something a little different than maybe you'll get anywhere else. Because I'm not trying to be a journalist here. I'm being a fan. But I do hope that it comes across in a way that's fun for everybody and you guys enjoy the content. So I appreciate you giving me a chance, dropping in here this evening. I see Scotty's in here. My buddy Todd has dropped in for a second. Hello, Todd. Welcome. I appreciate you being here. Scotty Barnes, what's up, friend? Uncle Glenn Hartley, thank you for dropping into the show this evening. I really appreciate it. We're going to do some big stuff. So let's recap what I covered off the top there when I was messing with the audio. So this show, I think I'm going to call it On a Swivel, because if you're familiar with football, you're familiar with the phrase head on a swivel, right? That way you don't get blindsided. So as a Georgia football fan and a friend of this Bulldog community that we're building here on my YouTube channel, I want to do that for us. I want to look back, take a look back and see what happened over the last week, and I want to look ahead to what's down the road, and hopefully we can keep a pretty good pulse on what's going on with Dog Nation. That's the plan anyway. And like I said, a little bit of housekeeping. We started the YouTube channel on February 14th, and in this very short period of time, thanks to you guys, thanks to your support, thanks for watching the videos, thank you for sharing them, thank you for visiting the TikTok channel and the Facebook page and all of those things. We have gone from 0 on February 14th to now over 1,500 subscribers here on YouTube. And I cannot tell you how thankful I am for that and how much I appreciate you being here. My only goal is to be worthy. So thank you for dropping in with us and giving us a chance. And one thing you could do, and since we're talking about the YouTube channel here, is I know a lot of times for me, when I'm watching dogs content, stuff will pop up on my homepage, my suggestion page, and I'll check them out, and then I'll decide whether or not I want to subscribe. And I'm a firm believer that it's not your job as the viewer to automatically like what I'm doing or subscribe to the channel. I feel like I need to earn that. So if I'm doing a good job and you enjoy being here, please take a second and double check and see if you're actually subscribed to the channel, because sometimes videos just pop into your feed and you think you're subscribed and maybe you're not. So do that for me if you will, and just make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss anything. And I say that because we have a lot of really cool stuff coming. So including tonight, we have something that we're going to get to here later in the show that's going to be worth sticking around for, I think. So if you're interested in anything else that we have going on, just check out the video or the description here on YouTube. Look down there. There's links to all our social media, ways you can support the channel, all that stuff. So again, I appreciate you being here. Now, let's move on to the topic of discussion for this week. And the thing that really got my attention, I mean, we are in talking season, right? We are in the time of the year where everybody has an opinion about most everything. And if you're lucky, most of the talking points that are going on are good things. And this past week, Georgia had some really good news as far as how people feel about the Dogs going into 2023. And I mean, that should really come as no surprise. We're familiar with what the program's doing. We understand what they're building. But it's still nice when you see your team be recognized on a national stage. And everybody has their favorites, who they listen to in the offseason and that sort of stuff. So my personal favorite now, like it's preview magazine season. You can see here this is Lindy's, but they're not my favorite. My go-to is Phil Steele. And I'm having a hard time getting my hands on a physical copy of Phil's magazine this year. But thankfully, as part of his marketing and stuff, Phil's rolling out the high points of his magazine ahead of the actual physical copies that I can get my hands on. So one of the things Phil dropped last week was his All-Americans for the 2023 season. And Georgia was very well represented. They had a total of 7 that actually made it onto his All-American list, including 4 members of the Dogs defense. And when you look at who those players are, Michael Williams made the 3rd team. Dumas-Johnson was a 1st team All-American selection by Phil Steele. Malachi Starks and Javon Bullard were 2nd team members on Phil's lists. And that got me to thinking about the fact that, yes, this is preseason, but when you look at what these players have done in the past, and we know what has been reported out all through the spring and things like that, we watched them with our own eyes. We can sit back and sort of project what we think could happen moving into the 2023 season. And I have to tell you, that made me realize when I looked at who was on the list and where they play, that Georgia has a very real possibility of having an All-American player at every level of the defense in 2023. Along the defensive line, of course, that would be Michael Williams. He seems to be poised to have a breakout year. Williams was a guy who he played in several games last year, and he finished with 4.5 sacks, but he had something crazy like 31, 32 quarterback pressures over the course of the season as a true freshman. And he was named to the freshman All-American squad last year. So if you were going to look at the defensive line and say who's an obvious choice for who might make that jump in year 2, it has to be Williams. Now, granted, he was playing alongside other great players, and I want to talk about those guys too for a second, because even though a name like Michael Williams might get your attention, do not sleep on the fact that Georgia's defensive line has done amazing work over the last 2 seasons. And I'm not talking about the superstars. Yes, they were fantastic, but it's all those guys that maybe you don't think of immediately when you think about the Georgia defensive line. So like Nazir Stackhouse and Warren Brinson and Tramel Walthour, these guys are out there doing yeoman's work, and it's showing up in the statistics and in the win column. They are that defensive line unit, because of what they do and what they allow the linebackers to do. They are in a position of power, if there is such a thing, on the team. Everyone understands how important they are. And that just feeds back into the culture and the philosophy that Coach Smart's building at the University of Georgia. So, yeah, Williams might be the guy who gets, might go into the season as the preseason All-American, but he's not the only one that could end up playing his way into All-American consideration, or at the very least, All-SEC consideration. And I'm looking at guys like Brinson and Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, and they're players, the young players that we're still getting to know. And we'll touch on these guys a little bit more here in a minute. But the defensive line is in good shape, and that moves us back to the linebacker position. So, like I mentioned, JDJ is a guy who was on Phil's preseason All-American list. One of the names that shocked me that I didn't see was Smile Munden. Now, Smile, he's a guy who is always around the ball, led the team in tackles last year, even though he only played in 10 regular season games. Good things just seem to happen when he's around the ball or when he's on the field. So if he can be healthy, and it sounds like he might be slowed a little bit at the start of the season, so he might miss another game or maybe two, but he's one of those guys that good things happen when he's on the field, and he could very well end up being a first-round draft pick next spring. I really think Smile has that sort of potential as we move into the 2023 season. So we have JDJ and Smile in the middle. And Dog fans, I want you to take a second and just remember, we're not going to break each of these guys down now. But remember that in last year's recruiting class, Glenn Schumann and Kirby Smart brought in the top, three of the top five linebackers in the nation in that recruiting class. We saw we saw several of them make plays in the spring game. And just because JD and Smile, we know what we have in those guys, the future is very, very bright when you look at the middle linebacker position in particular, but the linebacker position as a whole at the University of Georgia. So there are names that we're not even really going to spend time on here today. They're going to absolutely make plays for Georgia this year on the field as true freshmen, or players that maybe haven't gotten as much time as they're going to get this year, and like a player like Jalen Walker. So I see someone else has popped in here, dropped us a comment. Dana from Valdosta, welcome in, and go Dogs. I'm so happy you took a second to drop in here with us and say hello. Hang out with us. Patriots, hello, welcome in. I'm glad you're here with us. Another person. I appreciate you guys dropping in and spending a few minutes with me. It means a lot. It really, really does. And something I want to mention to you, it's on the stream here, or on Team Replay, if you end up being on Team Replay. If you're a subscriber to the channel, it would help me keep tabs on who is actually able to show up for these live streams, and if this is a good time, because, yeah, I like Wednesday evenings. We're still sort of figuring out, should it be 6, should it be 7, that sort of stuff. So if you catch the live stream and you are a subscriber, drop me a comment down below, #BeastNation, and let me know that my subscribers, my followers are actually showing up to these live streams. That would help me out a lot. I really appreciate it. So as we continue to look at what the Dogs have on defense here in 2023, I don't know. How do we want to talk about the linebackers? Do we want to think about it in terms of just the middle linebackers, or do we want to look at those outside linebackers? Because there are guys out there like a Jalen Walker who can play both inside and outside. A guy like Chaz Chambliss, Marvin Jones Jr., who's expected to have a big year this year. Any of those guys could break through from that position at linebacker and land themselves on a postseason All-American list that, again, we're not really spending a whole lot of time on. And that just speaks to the blessings that we are enjoying as Georgia Bulldog fans right now when it comes to the kind of talent that Kirby Smart has brought to Athens. So I don't know if you have anybody in mind that I haven't mentioned that you'd like to talk about. Drop them in the chat here, and we'll touch on them. And again, I'm going to look at all these guys a little bit more in depth a little bit later here. There's Harry, Beast Nation. That's what I'm talking about. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Harry, for letting me know. And then the comments, again, I'll go back and check all this stuff out later. Scotty, I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. That way it helps me know what you guys are doing, because that's the thing about this show and any of my future live streams is, well, and really it's the thing about a Damn Beast Media is this is a show, this is a channel that is produced for you, and it is directed by you. So your feedback is integral. I really want to both keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on inside Dog Nation and with the football team, but I also want to make sure that you guys are here and seeing what it is that you want to see, right? Because I know that your viewing time is precious. I know mine is. I have 2 small children. So when I have an opportunity to sit down and do something I enjoy, I want to see the stuff I want to see. So I'm going to shoot you straight. But also I want to make sure that, I'm delivering the kind of content you want to see. Sacred Grove has joined us here, says Raylan Wilson is going to be great. I absolutely agree. I mean, yeah, that play in the spring game, the interception return for touchdown, was a bit of, is a bounce of the ball kind of play, right? But the thing to keep in mind there, and if you spend a lot of time on YouTube, maybe you caught Raylan this week talking to Aaron Murray when he was asking him, how does he make a name for himself in such a crowded linebacker room here in 2023? How do you make an impact as a freshman? Well, obviously, special teams is a place that a player like Raylan's going to show up and really make an impact for Georgia. But secondarily, Raylan went on to say that he wants to make those splash plays. And that's exactly what we saw in the spring game. He was moving and still learning, and the game was still fast for him, so he was all over the field. But with that said, that interception came to him because he was in the right place. And Raylan went on to say, I can make splash plays because of what Schumann and Smart are showing me. They're going to put us in position to be able to make those plays when the opportunities come up. And when I heard him say that, I'm like, this is a guy that gets it. Like, he's taking coaching. He was one of those mid-year guys who came in, bought in, and we're seeing the results. I think you're exactly right, Sacred Grove. I think Raylan is going to, even if a guy like Smile is missing some time, and let's just say Jalen moves inside to play alongside JDJ, if they're rotating bodies in, Raylan's a guy that could very well get some reps there very early in the season. So, it says here, Harry's dropping us another comment here. It says 6 is a tad early, but I caught you today. Well, I appreciate that. Because, we could always move it back to 7, possibly 8. So we're going to be, like I said, I have 2 small children, so we're going to be moving into school here soon enough. So I have to keep that in mind too. But, and I'm always going to try to, I want to be around long enough to be entertaining. I don't want to keep you guys here for 4 hours unless we've got something that we're vigorously discussing, right? We'll be here for about an hour or so and talk about some stuff, and then we'll move along. But I appreciate the feedback, Harry. Thank you for that very much. So before I get too sidetracked talking about all this other stuff, moving on to the back end of the defense. So obviously the loss of Christopher Smith is a big deal. And if for no other reason, he was a really good player, really ran the alley well, supported the run, was always in position, the captain of the defense, put guys where they needed to be. But it was his leadership and the fact that being an old head, if you will, he could show those younger guys how to do it and the right way to work. And when you take somebody like that out when they graduate, that leaves a hole inevitably. And I've heard good things from players like Malachi Starks and Kamari Laster in the offseason saying that they are stepping into that role and doing what they can to help the younger players and trying to take on that leadership mantle. But, you just don't know until we see the guys on the field to see if we have that player-to-player accountability on the field in the moment, like we saw from dumas-johnson last year at Missouri on the sideline, right? That was all good. He was just getting after his teammate and saying, hey, we have to do better. So we need to see that, and it's going to be interesting to see who that's going to be this year, in addition to JDJ, when we get into the fall. So when you look at the secondary, We know that there are going to be 2 new faces back there, and we're not exactly sure who's going to be where. We know that Laster's going to handle one corner. He's going to lock that down. I've got a pretty good feeling that he's in for a big year. And we know that Malachi Starks made a preseason All-American team. Malachi made a freshman All-American team last year. So when you are like, who could that guy be this year for the Dogs that's going to break through and be an All-American? Well, you would start with Malachi. But Kamari could really have a great season. It all depends on how it shakes out. The other guy that was mentioned was, of course, Javon Bullard. Now, I took the initiative to make a couple of slides here and let you guys see a couple of things. So when you look at Phil and what he had to say, you can see here, he obviously feels really good about Georgia. And on his list, you see Javon right there, Michael Williams, Malachi Starks, and JDJ. And he recognizes that those guys are the ones that could break through and have a big year here in 23 and get that national sort of recognition, that national attention. And he also went on to name one of the best position groups in the country. He actually named 2 of the Dogs position groups, both offensive line, the Joe Moore Award, be damned. He said, no, the Georgia Bulldogs have the best offensive line in the nation, but he also pointed out that they have the best linebacker room in the country. And I cannot disagree with that. Again, not only is the top tier guys, the guys that we know that have already put in work and done a great job, but we're talking about guys that we don't even know yet, right? The guys that we don't even know yet. And the sort of impact that they could have, the really impactful plays that they can make here in 2023. So I think he nailed it. Linebacker, the University of Georgia is a position of strength. There is absolutely no doubt. And the more we talk about, again, not only the players that are here right now, but when we look into the future, anyone who tells you that Georgia's defense is going to fall off a cliff or not be the same or any of that because they lost too many players or whatever that might be, you can just tell them to keep walking because we know better and we know that there's talented depth there, and it's just who is going to grow up and do what they need to do. I have full faith in Schumann and Kirby and Trey Scott and those guys, Will Muschamp, to make sure that they're handling their business on the field. There's no doubt about that. I see Sacred here saying that Laster needs to step into that role, and I believe he has. Again, in the interviews I've seen with Kamari, he has said, last year I put my head down and I went to work, right? That was the role that he needed to fill. And it's something that young men have to grow into to be able to step forward and take that leadership role. And everybody does it a different way. But he said he's trying. And the talent at every level of the defense is insane. That defensive line room, I see you hear Sacred saying it's one of the older in terms of experience in the country, and I was talking about that earlier. You cannot overstate the impact. As a matter of fact, I have a slide I can show you here that drives this point home. The impact that defensive line is going to have on this 2023 season. You just cannot overstate it. So if you look at elite, what does it mean to be an elite dog defender? This is what it means. It means that you go out and you play in such a way that it is undeniable, right? That everyone has to just own up and admit to the fact that you are that dude. You are a Himothy, right? You are getting it done. So for the Dogs in 2022, that was Jamon Dumas-Johnson, Butkus Award finalist, All-American consideration. Could you do any better than that at the middle linebacker position? I would argue that no, you cannot. That's except for maybe win the thing. You could do that. You could match Roquan, and he's got a shot to do that this year. Bullard, as I mentioned earlier, he announced his presence at the end of the year, beginning with that Tennessee game, with those blitzes off the corner, those Wildcat blitzes. If anybody didn't know who he was, they knew after that because he was just a dog coming off that corner. And Hendon, by that point in the game, those dudes were seeing ghosts anyway. And Javon made it count when he got his opportunity. They left no doubt is what they did against Tennessee, and I for one, love to see it. Malachi Starks, as I mentioned earlier, and Michael Williams are both freshman All-American last year. And I see people talking about the D-line in the chat, and by all means, I'm an old defensive lineman myself. I was never built in such a way that I could play at the University of Georgia. But I was good enough to play college ball, and it's just one of those things. When we want to talk about defensive line, I am all about it. I am here for it. And to drive that point home, and it's not just the defensive line that's getting it done, but as you can see here, it's the entire team working together, that unit. No one has ran the football against the University of Georgia consistently in the last 6 years. And the only reason I went back 6 years instead of 7 is because that was the first year that was year 2 when they went to the national title game. So the first year, it was just everybody's moving parts and things like that. But if you look at what I said here, over the last 3 seasons, 76 yards a game. I think that the actual number is like 76.1 is what they have averaged, allowing on the ground. When you are holding teams to under, and if you go back 6 seasons, 90 yards. If you're holding teams to less than 90 yards on the ground and you're making them one-dimensional, you are going to be successful. And it's because of play from that deep and experienced and veteran defensive line that the Dogs have been able to do what they've been able to do. And we can kind of get in the weeds here just a little bit because, like Kirby said, I think it was during the spring, maybe. He was talking about the defensive line and how they were playing. And it was just one of those things where he's like, we may not have, I forget the exact phrase he used, like a game wrecker or a world buster or something like that. He's like, we may not have that guy this year the way we have had it in the last couple of years, but we have quality players who do a really good job at playing defensive line. And if you look at the tape, they strike with the right shoulder, they set the edge, they hold their gap, and that's what frees those guys up, those smaller, faster linebackers, to be able to make the plays that they make. JDJ knows it. He wants to make sure those guys are positioned in such a way that he can get to where he needs to get to, and he does. They handle their job. The defensive line handles their job. The safeties and corners come up and run support, run the alley. That's how you stop the run. That's how you end up with statistics like this. That's how you win championships. So as long as Georgia can continue to do that, Georgia's going to be in a good spot. I see Jay jumping in here with us. Welcome. It's good to have you. I appreciate you taking a few moments to drop in with us. And I appreciate that, Harry. I thought that stat's amazing because you watch the games week after week and you're like, oh, they can't run it. They can't run it. But, you don't, unless it's a tackle for a loss or something, maybe it's not the kind of thing that jumps out at you. But when you look at the statistics and you look at the way that they're literally strangling offenses over the last 3 seasons in particular, it is quite impressive. And then when you have a guy who busts through like a Jalen Carter and can literally teleport from one gap to the next, and get into the backfield and make a play, those dudes don't grow on trees, right? They come along once every 2, 3, 4 years. You have to be able to play sound, fundamental defense to play the run well. And the Georgia Bulldogs over the last 3 years have done that better than virtually everyone. There's absolutely a correlation between the play of those interior linemen and the overall production of this rush defense. You just cannot separate the two. Sacred's saying there's no Jalen Carter on this line, but everybody's going to know who Nazir Stackhouse. Nazir is going to have, I think he's going to have a pretty big year. I really do. I think my boy Warren Brinson is another player that might have a little bit of burst that is going to show up for us. I think it's go time for a player like Tyrion Ingram Dawkins also. And I'm going to look at my notes here so I don't miss anybody, because let's take just a quick second and run through some of these guys that are on that defensive line that we're going to see that, maybe you know them, maybe you don't. But the guys that have played a lot for Georgia so far are like Tramel Walthour. He started every game for Georgia last year. Did you know that? Tramel Walthour started every game on the defensive line for the Georgia Bulldogs, the reigning national champions, last season. I don't know that even the most hardcore Georgia Bulldog fan knows that, but it's impressive. It's impressive. You've also got Zion Logue. Zion is kind of the old head in the room. I get the feeling he's the guy right now who's like, okay, y'all handle your business. We know how it's supposed to be done. And you got to have that guy. Nazir is absolutely going to make his presence known this year. But like I said, we've got those young guys. You've got Williams for sure, who's going to have an impact. Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, we saw him flash in the spring game, get some pressure from the end position. So this is kind of his money year. He's a guy that has transformed his body from when he first arrived in Athens. It's go time. It's time for him to really make his presence known, and I'm confident that we're going to see his name a lot this fall. But then there's a bunch of dudes: Jonathan Jefferson, C.J. Madden, Kristen Miller, Jamal Jarrett, Jordan Hall, who we saw in the spring game play really well. You know, big, tall guy with a big body, good arm, good reach. So Jordan's going to be a pass rush push guy, I think, in the middle there. Not necessarily just a plug guy, but more of a push guy when it comes to the pass rush. And that is invaluable if you're playing a guy who wants to be in the pocket and throw from the pocket. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Jordan can do. And then, of course, there's Damon Wilson. Let me tell you, out of all the guys that I have heard talk this offseason and get a little information, a little insight into what they're doing and how they're working, Damon Wilson is a guy that he has teased me a lot. I am really on board the Damon Wilson train. He is explosive. He has great body bend. And if I can take him at face value at what he's saying about his mindset and how he's working, it could be, I'm thinking back a couple of seasons to when we saw Travon Walker against Auburn late in the year really come forward and make some big plays in that game. Pressures, quarterback sacks. I really think that's the kind of trajectory we might see from Damon this year. I really think in the beginning, he might have to adjust to, physicality and size and speed. And although he's practicing against those guys every day, but I really think that by the time we get to the middle of the season, we roll around into Florida and November, the end of October, November, Damon Wilson is I think he could be a guy that is really going to get everybody's attention. And of course, there's Samuel Mpemba. Now, Sam's raw, but when you look at him on the hoof, oh my goodness, people. I don't know how many of you have actually had a chance to see him up close. He's one of those dudes. Do you recall how everyone talked about Elijah Holyfield when he showed up in Athens, or Nick Chubb, or Branson Robinson? These dudes that are just absolute units that are just put together in such a way that you're like, wow, that's a 17-year-old dude. That is what I see with Sam Mpemba. He didn't even know what he was doing this spring, really. You could tell he was out of position, but he was hustling and making plays, chasing runners down. Sam Mpemba was a 5-star for a reason. Let's just say, people, the future is bright, and I am very excited to watch these young guys play because it is going to be a lot of fun. And so that's just the defensive linemen. If we start talking about the outside linebackers, like I said, you've got Chaz Chambliss, Jalen Walker, Marvin Jones. All three have experience. All three are going to play this year and have an impact for the Dogs. Speaking of money seasons, MJJ, there's a lot of pressure on MJJ, I think. He sat out the spring with his injury, and that's probably for the best, to make sure he's ready to go in the fall. And I think everything seems to be, at least from the reporting, that he's going to be fine. He's going to be ready to go for the fall. And I have to say that I think he could have a really, really nice season for the University of Georgia. And there are others, along that unit, that outside linebacker edge unit, that we could get into a little bit later, if anybody wants to talk about somebody in particular. But those guys, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too far because this could be a whole video, a whole live session by itself. But the thing to keep in mind, like when I think about the 2021 team, you had Adam Anderson, who did some boneheaded stuff, made some bad decisions, and got kicked off the team. And when that happened, the first question was, who's going to be the pass rusher for Georgia? They weren't getting tremendous pressure, just pure pressure from their rush ends anyway. But Adam was that guy. So then everyone pointed to Nolan. Now, Nolan always had the ability, and he did a good job, but neither of those dudes were ever someone like a Jarvis Jones, right, who's just wrecking offenses from that outside linebacker position. That 21 team was one of the best defenses college football has ever seen, and I still felt that way. They were good in spite of not having that dominant pass rusher. I think, and on a larger point, I can say this too. I think the 2023 defense has the potential to be much closer to the 2021 defense than the 2022 defense overall in production and the way they perform. I think they have the right mix of experience, talent, speed, scheme. I think they can really show us something here in 23. But talking about that 21 team, the way we got around not having that dominant pass rusher, and I know you've heard Kirby and Schumann talk about this, about being able to disrupt the quarterback, get him off his points, get him off his X, that sort of stuff. The way they did that was using those linebackers. Think about how many times you saw Nakobe Dean on a blitz against Clemson, right? Think about all the bodies that you saw coming from all the places when Jordan Davis didn't win, when Devontae Wyatt didn't win. You had these guys that they would scheme it up in such a way that you had your linebackers applying that pressure, being those disruptors. I really believe that with the amount of athleticism and talent that this linebacker room sees, that this edge group has, I think that's what you're going to see. That's the way Georgia is going to make life a living hell for those quarterbacks this year. You're going to want that push from those guys. Dawkins, Wilson, the guys we've talked about already. Michael Williams, absolutely. Do your job. But if we get into those games where, we want to change it up on somebody, or maybe they're stoning our interior rush, just remember this. Put this in your mind. Those linebackers, those schemes, Smile Munden, think about it. He got to C.J. Stroud in the Peach Bowl. So did JDJ. Crucial sacks on pressures, blitz pressures in the right moments. So I don't worry about the fact that we're going to be able to get after the quarterback. Just pay attention and notice how we're doing it. There's going to be a lot to watch there, and it's going to be a lot of fun, in my personal opinion, as a guy who loves defense. So there we go. I mean, we've gone front to back. I don't know. Do you guys agree with me? Do you think that there's a real possibility that Georgia could end up at the end of the season with not only SEC caliber players, all SEC caliber players, but all American caliber players at every level of the defense? I think that the case is pretty good. Whether they do it or not, we don't know, right? Scheme. Then you always have to watch out for the injury bug.
Oh, no.
Throwback. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Oh, my goodness. Pat Summerall. All those things are going to factor in to whether the guys rack up the requisite stats or splash plays or whatever it is to actually be named to an All-American team. But I think there's no way to deny the fact that the possibility exists that it could happen. And if you're even in that conversation about we may be able to achieve that this year as a unit, well, then you know that you're going to be playing some more kind of defense. And I, personally, I'm going to love it. It's like I said, I'm a defensive guy. So let's take a look at the chat here for a second and see what's going on. I've let it get away from me just a little bit. So Scotty's like, yeah, this could be Kirby's best defense yet. And I actually agree. I agree completely. Again, it's that mix. It's that mix of experience, talent, athleticism. Absolutely. Jay's chiming in here saying Jarvis was great at creating havoc. Oh, man. Jarvis Jones, I felt like that was just a breath of fresh air. Again, I'm a defensive guy, and seeing a guy from a stand-up position just wreck a game, especially against those hated Gators. Man, I hate the Gators. Oh, to see him dominate against Florida the way he did, he will always be a damn good dog, in my opinion. He didn't have to do nothing else. Jarvis is forever a hero for me. I think he just went into the Georgia-Florida Hall of Fame last season or the year before. It was so well-deserved, too. And he's a good dude. I see him around, or my wife does, too. She sees him around quite a bit. So, Jarvis, if you're out there, if you catch this stream, buddy, you know you can come on anytime. You are welcome here. Sacred Seas, that's where I see we've got to advance tremendously, is in that safety group. Yep, and I don't think you're wrong on that. They're going to have some people step up. I'm really curious how that's going to look. If they're going to put Bullard at safety and have him be that alley filler, or if it's going to be maybe you play him more at star and Tyke Smith or Smoke Bowie end up at safety. And, of course, there's that opposite corner, opposite Lassiter, who's going to nail that down. So, man, it is good to have options. That's what I'll say there. That is what I'll say there. Scotty agrees with me. Absolutely. It's absolutely possible. It's hard to see. It's hard to see how it's not. I think if you're going to ignore the case that I just laid out there, then you aren't cheering for the Dogs in the first place. Kirby has a juggernaut. Man, I just hope we can keep it rolling. It is very difficult. I mean, we all know that we're dealing with young men who are going to make mistakes. You know, maybe their girlfriend breaks up with them, and to get them to play to the level that he's had those dudes playing every week for the last 3 years is something to behold. I'm just thankful that this is in the prime of my Bulldog life. I'm a Generation Xer. I was around for 1980. I have memories, but those weren't my dogs. I was at the University of Georgia in the mid to late 90s, graduated in 98. So, I was there with Kirby and Bobo, catch them on the bus occasionally. That was a fun time to be there, but we weren't, competing for championships every year. And as an adult, as a working person watching the Dogs from a distance, I was always like, yeah, we'd have a good season. I know what it's like to be able to enjoy a 10-win season with a victory over your rivals. And the rivals thing's another video. We can get into that later. So I can appreciate a 10-win season with a win over your rivals. But, man, it is something else. This is rarefied air to be where we are as Georgia Bulldog fans, and I just want to remind everyone to enjoy it. Do not take it for granted. It can change at any moment. Yes, the Dogs should be in the mix for the foreseeable future, but just enjoy it while we're here. So I have been rolling right along. And, again, if you have any questions or anything like that, drop them in the comments. I'll try to get to them, and we'll talk about it if you got any ideas, something we didn't cover already. But I did have an announcement, a big announcement that I want to get out here before too much longer in the stream. Now, you guys may or may not have seen that earlier this year, I ran a contest around a championship football from championshipfootballs.com. And the reason I did that was because I had ordered a 2021 championship football, and it's sitting right back there on my shelf. And it was beautiful. And so I reached out to the guys and said, hey, go ahead. I want to order the 2022 ball. And when I did that, we had a conversation, and they were like, well, listen, why not do a giveaway? And so we did. Earlier this year, I did a giveaway for a 2022 University of Georgia championship football from championshipfootballs.com. Now, I'm not getting paid by them right now. This is just something that this is not anything like that. I'm sharing my personal experience with the company just to let you know that I loved the product, and so I had no issues doing a partnership with them. With that said, this week, talking about head on a swivel, something else great that happened this week in the world of Georgia football was the 2022 footballs actually came in. So I wanted to take a second and show you this beauty. that I have for 2022. Let that focus. Look at that. You have the score from the national championship game, all 4 national titles from the University of Georgia. And this ball is embossed, so I'm not sure if you can pick it up, but these are not printed on. This is stamped into the leather, right? You can see the detail on this ball. I think it's absolutely beautiful. And if you spin it around and look, there you see that 15-0 custom limited edition with the score of every game from our reigning back-to-back national champions. That is what came in the mail for me this week. Now, here is the big news. I was not expecting this, but because of what we did last time, the people at championshipfootballs.com sent me 2 dose footballs. I don't need 2. So what that means is it's giveaway time. We are going to do this thing again. So if you are interested in a championship football, like I just showed you, the exact ball that I just showed you, we're going to have to, I know some of you guys are already subscribed, so watch this space. But at the very minimum, we're going to do a subscription tie-in. And I'm going to let this one run for a month and a half, maybe 2 months, right up to the beginning of the season. Give people ample time to hear about it and get their lot in to win one of these footballs. And when what we'll do is we'll do it just like last time. I'll draw using a what they call the spinner from a bingo ball. We'll draw the number and we'll do it live and let everybody see that it's on the up and up. And I will give away a 2022 University of Georgia football. I see my man Harry here dropped it in the chat. He's like, "What's the cost for this giveaway?" Absolutely nothing. Nothing. I will absorb the cost of shipping it to you. So just as a thank you for being here if you're the lucky winner. So don't worry about that. If you are interested in looking at what Championship Footballs has to offer, like I said, I've done business with them. Again, this is not a paid thing. I paid for my ball, right? There's nothing like that going on here. Although we are always open to sponsors, but that's not what this is. If you are interested, you can go to championshipfootballs.com and look around, you can search for the Georgia Ball or your favorite NFL team or whatever, but they only do champions. They don't do a random Rutgers football, right? So you have to be a champion to have one of these balls made. You can look around on their website. I believe the ball retails for right at $100, probably comes in a little bit under $100. And it's one of those deals where not only can you get the football, but they also have cases for the balls. I have my ball in a case back there. Maybe I'll make a video, throw it up on TikTok or Facebook or something, and show you guys a look at the 21 ball. And then, you can make a decision about whether or not you want to look at it on the website. But I know Chaz, he's the owner. He's a good guy. He'll take care of you. And I can also tell you this, that currently there's a promo code for one of those cases. So if you decide that you want to buy a ball and you want to get a case, if you use the promo code COMBO15, COMBO 15, all one word squished together, you can get a discount, 15% discount on one of those cases. But again, I'm not getting a kickback from this. This is just me sharing a product because they were nice enough to share with me, and I am sharing it with you, my supporters, and I appreciate that more than I can tell you. I appreciate you being here. And I mentioned this earlier. If you weren't here, if you got here a little bit later, be sure to look around in the description for be sure to look around in the description of this video where you can find the links to my website. Actually, I can show you here. We can have a little fun here too. So there are different ways for you to, if you enjoy what we're doing, there are different ways for you to support the channel. Okay. And the bottom line is this. Again, I have a full-time job, so I do this because I want to. But if you want to help us do better, produce more content, this is how you do it. We've got gear here at Bonfire. You can check out the Field House. There's links to this in the description below. You can look at some of the stuff we have over there. If you like what we're doing, that's one good way to support us. All kinds of cool stuff. My wife loves these shirts. They're very, very soft. So if you're interested in that, you can find that over there. And if you aren't and you just want to know more about what we're doing, you can check us out here at my website, adambeast.com. And there are links here to everything. The podcast, if you prefer to just sign up and listen to things in, in audio form. But the YouTube channel's there. There's a blog that we write pieces for. We have the newsletter. You could sign up for the newsletter. And don't worry, I don't spam you. That's just stuff. If we've got interesting tidbits, we'll throw it out there on the newsletter. And this is the best way to do it. If you're actually interested in supporting us, we do have a Patreon page, and I'm adjusting some of these things, but I promise you it's worth your while if you care to do that and support the channel. But if you don't, that's fine. I would love it if you just hit like on the video and share it out to the other members of Dog Nation, because that is how we grow the channel. That is how I know that I'm doing a good job, and that only makes me want to do a better job for you. So it's one of those things. Oh, I need to catch up in the chat, it looks like. It's one of those things that, I want to do the best I can for you, and I want to have a good time while I'm doing it, because this is something that I do just because I love it. And I'm happy that you guys choose to hang out with me a little bit and talk Georgia football, really. So let's take a look at the chat here. Scotty's like, if whoever wins that, hey, I agree, man. These balls are really, really pretty. They are really beautiful. I have a ball from the 2017 national championship game, but we bought the ball. Well, the ball was given to me as a gift. It's a game ball, but it was given to me before the game, right? So at the SEC, what do they call it? Where you go and check out everything before the game. We were at that event, and someone bought a ball and gave it to me as a gift. So I have one from the 2017 game, but obviously we didn't win that one, but it's still on my shelf over there and pretty. And these that have the big W, for the victory, let's just say, I mean, the other one may have my heart, but these two, man, they certainly do look good up there. Jay says, people act like we came out of nowhere. We've been close to elite, averaging 10 wins a year. You got it right. We are so spoiled. In the internet world here, I spend so much time hearing from Big Ten fans and Pac-12 fans, or whatever they are these days. And I just got to tell you, it seems like we needed a place to talk Georgia, and we needed a place to talk SEC. And that's what I want this to be. I want this stream, this website, this page, this channel to be about the dogs. And if you need to talk dogs from a fan's perspective, with maybe a little insight, then I hope that's why you'll come back and hang out with us. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate it. Thank you, Kirby, says Scotty. I am with you, friend. Absolutely. Absolutely. Man's my age, and he took a different path in life, and I am so thankful that he decided to come back to Georgia. That is so good for all of us. Yeah, I think that's a good price on those game balls, Harry. I really do. And trust me, I love mine. I mean, I'll show you. It's back there. Can y'all see this? Do y'all like the set pieces, by the way? Let's see. There we go. So that's my helmet. You may have seen the picture. I shared it on the YouTube community page a while back. But there's some other really nice Georgia pieces back there. But they're so far back, they're a little blurry. Y'all might not be able to see them, but try to keep it Georgia up in here for you. Jay's like, it seems like I know you from somewhere. Is that for me, Jay? You talking to me? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I just have that kind of face. Mayhem. W stream. Does that mean it's a win? Did we do good? I hope so. That's what I'm trying to do, friends. That's what I'm trying to do. So, yeah, I mean, again, if you have any questions or anything specific you guys want to talk about, please drop it in the comments. Let me know. I hope if I've done a good job, you'll come back next time. Because for right now, it looks like Wednesday nights is going to be when we're going to get this thing done. Tonight I did it at 6. We can back that up an hour and see what's going on, maybe knock it out at 7. something like that. But that brings me back to, if you aren't sure, take a second, double check your subscription status to the channel, and be sure to click that notification bell, because then you won't miss us. I want to let you guys know when we're going to be going live so you can be here if you want to be. But make sure you have that bell turned on so you'll get those notifications for when we do, post new videos or go live or whatever, because Lord knows it's more fun when I have people here to talk to. There's no doubt about that. So yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. I don't know. Anybody doing anything good this week? A little Bulldog action. I am working on a new video. Okay. I'm working on a new video for this Friday. It may be out Saturday morning. It's either Friday afternoon or Saturday mornings, usually how that works out. But it's going to be a good one. It's about our guy, Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers. This video is about Brock Bowers. Let's all take a second and just appreciate the wonder that Brock Bowers is, okay? That's what this video is going to be about this week. So I'll tell you what, the things that Brock has in front of him for this 2023 season are amazing. Soak it in, fans. Let's hope that the young man can stay healthy, because that means Georgia's going to have a good year, and we are going to have a good year, because it's like Kirby says.
We will not be hunted at the University of Georgia. I can promise you that.
That's right, Kirby. We will not. And he's doing his part, and it's our job to do our part, right, as the Bulldog fans, to let everybody know about our fandom. So Mayhem is dropping this in the chat here. Quick question. He's like, are you for Mike Bobo or against? I am someone who I think Mike Bobo is going to be fine. I think this offense is going to hum. I think that there's no concern on my part about what kind of offense Mike is going to run. None. I say that because it's not Mike's team, it's Kirby's team. Kirby knows what's up. He knows what's winning. He knows that when you get to the college football playoff, even the best defenses, if you have one, like the Dogs do, you have to be able to score 40 points a game to win in the college football playoff, because other teams are going to be able to score. Look at Ohio State as a perfect example, okay? The model for Ohio State all year was they knew that they didn't have a great defense. They knew it. They're not dumb. The model was to score 40 or 50 every week, take the pressure off of that bad defense or disappointing defense, whatever. Say it however you want to. They go to Michigan, they play Michigan, and they go in at half, they have the lead. And then, for whatever reason, if the game plan is to say, we're going to hold Michigan to no points in the second half and win the game, if that was the choice, then they screwed it up, obviously, and they got beat because they couldn't do it. Then they show up against Georgia, and I want to be on record as saying this. The only way you're going to beat Georgia in this defense is if you have a couple things. One, elite quarterback play. Not good, elite quarterback play. And multiple elite threats at wide receiver or in the pass game. Doesn't have to be a wide receiver. Ohio State had those things. Georgia was going to have to score, and they did, which is why they won. They made enough plays at the end of the game on defense, JDJ with the pressure to make that kick longer than it had to be. It all came together because they play complementary football. Georgia has to be able to score. So I'm not concerned about Mike Bobo. It's Kirby's team. He's going to run Kirby's offense. We don't know how he's going to call the game until we see him call the game. But he knows he has a quarterback in Beck that can sling it. He knows that he has wide receivers. They're going to be open. He knows that he has running backs and a tremendous offensive line that can get the job done. I'm not concerned about Mike Bobo. I can leave it at that. You're right, Harry. Monken set the mold. This is what it is. It's just like we say about Beck. We don't know whether Carson has that clutch gene until we see him do it. That's what Stetson had in spades. We don't know what Mike's going to call until he calls it. But I know that Mike is a smart guy. So analytics are a thing. I think I'm not concerned. I'll leave it right there. Yes, Brock is a damn good dog. There is no way around that. He is an all-time legend. I heard, maybe it was Dean. Maybe I heard Dean Legge say this the other day, and he was talking about Brock, and he's like, "Where does he place? What's his position going to be at Georgia when it's all said and done?" And Dean didn't get out over his skis. I think as far as in that answer, as far as he wanted to go was he could be the best tight end to ever play at the University of Georgia. I don't think that's much of a stretch, personally. So I might go a little bit further than that. But it's just one of those things where I'm gonna lay it out in the video. I'm just saying, people. Everybody throws, you hear him say he's that unicorn. He's that. The thing about Brock that is the best, the thing that you want to tell your children to pay attention to is, he's a great player, but man, that dude works. Nobody's going to outwork 19. Nobody. And he has shown us that over and over and over. And you can't help but root for that guy. I just think, just soak it in, friends. I'm not saying the guys behind him aren't going to be great too, but man alive, soak it in when it comes to Brock Bowers. David, thank you so much, friend. Hit that like button. I thank you. I would appreciate that. If you don't want to do any of the other stuff to help us make this thing all it can be, just hitting that like button, just leaving comments and sharing these videos with other members of Dog Nation will go a long, long way. And I really appreciate you ringing that bell for me. I appreciate that, David. And Scotty makes a good point here. The Dogs are the most balanced team in college football. That's the thing that when I hear teams of other contenders talk, that's the thing that I feel that maybe they're not knocking Georgia. They're saying Georgia's a good football team. But what they're forgetting is that none of this stuff happens in a vacuum. It's not just how good is Georgia. They rate, 96, 97 out of 100. Maybe they're not as good as 21 or 22. Okay, but that doesn't matter. What matters is how good are they compared to the field. And based on what we know about the other contenders for the national title, it's hard to still not push Georgia way out in front there and say, yes, they have the clear edge based on what we know today. I have no issue saying that. I don't count my chickens before they hatch. You're not going to ever hear me say that Georgia's absolutely going 12-0, and if they don't, that's a failure. I'm never going to say that. That's not how I view the game. I respect the game too much to say that. But I'm just saying, it's hard to not say that Georgia is in a better position. They have better answers for the questions that they have going into the season than the other top 5, 6 teams out there, in my opinion. I'm not really a hot take guy. I don't think that's a hot take, but I think it makes sense to me. 11 personnel on offense. It will be interesting to see what they do with it. We will see more of it, but it brings us back to how Bowers and Delp, sorry, his name almost escaped me, Oscar Delp, how talented they are. And the fact that you can flex them, put them out, at wing or put them in the slot, do all these other things with them. I still think we're going to see a fair amount of 12, but it'll depend. I know Oscar really improved in his blocking. We know that Brock can get it done as a blocker. Lucky and Sperlin, those are big-bodied guys. They got to figure it out. Lucky, he seems to have the want to be a good blocker. So I think we're going to have bodies. We're going to have options. I think we're still going to see a fair amount of 12, but we will see we will see more 11 personnel. I can see that. David, thank you. I appreciate that. David, I appreciate that. And again, I appreciate you for encouraging friends to gently depress that like button on behalf of a damn beast. And to be clear, people seem to misunderstand that. I'm not the beast. Okay? A damn beast is when you're talking about, we've all heard people say that colloquially, right? Where you say, oh, that dude's a beast. Or that girl's a beast, right? That player's a beast. Well, that is where I'm coming at it from when I say a damn beast. A damn beast media focuses on a damn beast, which is currently the back-to-back and reigning national champion Georgia Bulldogs. That's a damn beast for you. That's what we focus on. That's where our name comes from. So if you say it or if you subscribe to the channel and you want to be known as a member of Beast Nation, again, hashtag Beast Nation. Drop it in the comments. Let me know. Hashtag Beast Nation if you're here for good. Well, y'all, we've gone a little bit over an hour. I appreciate you guys being here with me for the inaugural run. We tried some stuff. Some of it worked. I hope most of it did. We might tweak some stuff coming back for the next time. Harry chiming in with a wonderful thing here. Let's drop this on the screen. It says the Dogs have a big running back room now, but the bludgeoning Kirby Death March giving us. That's true. We're gonna see a lot of those dudes play because they got to figure out who they can trust. So that first half of the season, you better believe it. If they're healthy, we're gonna see Branson, Kendall. We're gonna see Dwan. Hopefully, we'll get to see the young man from Texas that didn't get to play last year. Yeah, we're going to find out who can tote the rock for the Dogs. There's no doubt. And that way, when we get down into the colder weather and we need to run the ball against Tennessee and Knoxville or, whatever lines up in front of us, Ole Miss to salt the game there between the hedges, we're going to know who that is. And that big old line's going to get a little nasty. And, man, that's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. William jumping in here at the end. He's telling us he's so very excited about the secondary. Me too. We were talking about that, like who's going to go where. There's so much talent. There's so much talent out there. The position opposite Lassiter is so interesting because you've just got, it doesn't matter who they pick. Those dudes they're just skilled. And man, I'll tell you what, I'm fired. Y'all are getting me fired up. You can't do this. We're months from the games, y'all. But I do appreciate you being here. Scotty says, great show. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Harry, I appreciate you being here. Beast Nation, David, I appreciate you for dropping in with us. Jeremy's popping in the comments right here. That's fantastic. Guys, ladies, guys, thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. Hit that like button on the way out the door. Let me know if I said anything that made you feel like you want to support the show. Beyond that, please take a look. Like I said, we've got the website. Just go to my website at damnbeast.com. You can find everything there, or check in the description below this video. You find links to all my social media. Tell your friends about the Instagram. I don't know why people don't know we're over on Instagram. Facebook is huge. Thank you for support us over there. YouTube is growing daily. Thank you so much for being here. TikTok is fantastic. We're almost at 10K over there. So I'm super thrilled with the way you guys are supporting the show and what we do as we try so hard. Don't worry about it, Ace. I see you popping in there, brother. Hello. Don't worry about it. I appreciate you being here for taking a second. Hit us up on Team Replay and be sure, if you're subscribed and you do the replay, be sure to drop us in there and let us know. Hashtag Beast Nation if you're part of that. Welcome in, man. We're going to, this is for Ace. We're still working on massaging the time for this live stream. Most likely it's going to be Wednesdays. That seems to be something everybody's pretty happy with. I think we might push it back to 7 o'clock moving forward, just because, to give everybody a little bit more chance to get in here and settle in, and we'll go from there. So I'll keep you up to date on the community tab and across the socials, so y'all just keep an eye on those places. Oh, just found this. Okay, well, thank goodness. I hope you'll check out our other stuff, Ace, man. That's awesome. Fantastic. And Jay, I see you asking here, no Twitter. Yes, there is a Twitter at the same handle, A Damn Beast. Simple. The thing about the Instagram is that I did have to put media on the end of it. I don't know if that has anything to do with why people aren't finding us as easily over there. But check us out, because everything, I try my best to get the same ideas across all these platforms, but you guys know how it is. If you're on more than one platform, you know, sometimes stuff doesn't work as good or whatever on a different platform. So, it's a good idea. Just go ahead and follow us over there. And I'm always plugged in. Let me just put it that way. So if you want to talk about something at any point, you just hit me up, let me know, and we'll go from there. We're gonna this show is gonna be changing as we move forward. Like I said, we got a lot of big ideas, a lot of stuff coming. I hope over the course of the summer to have, you know, maybe some interviews here or there. I think that's going to be fun. Some people that I hope you'll find very, very interesting. Come on with us. We're going to do a lot of fun things. So make sure you're not missing out. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Let us know what's going on. And yeah, so you can find me everywhere. We're not hard to find. Or always check us out at dumas-johnson.com. So until next time, everybody, thanks, Jay. I appreciate that, friend. Tell a friend and bring them back with you next week. Let them know. Check us out on the socials. Share that stuff around. Help us grow, because I promise you, this is my promise to you, Beast Nation. The more support that we get for this page and these channels, the closer we get to me being able to do everything that I want to do for you. So we've got some stuff coming up here in the next month, like SEC Media Days. There's a lot of news that's going to be happening. I'll be in Nashville for SEC Media Days. So I hope to be able to bring you guys some content from up there. We'll have to see if I can swing a live stream from up there. I'm not certain. We'll just have to see. So keep an eye on that. I may have to just relegate it to one of the other platforms maybe. So just keep an eye on that. I'm going to see what I can do to make it happen, but we'll see. But there's a lot of good stuff coming. Like I said, hopefully we'll have some interviews. The giveaway that I mentioned earlier, don't forget, on the way out the door, let me show you one more time. Let me show you this beauty. The giveaway, I have 2 of these, and one of them, come on, camera, help me out here. One of them is going to be going to one very lucky Georgia Bulldog fan. We're going to do that drawing here in a month and a half, maybe 2 months right before the season. Give everybody a chance to get in there and get themselves in for the drawing. We'll do the drawing live just like we did last time. Make sure everybody knows what's going on. These things are absolutely beautiful, and I hope that you'll take advantage of the opportunity. Like I said, watch the community page, watch the socials. I'll make sure everybody's very clear on what it takes to be entered for the drawing. So be sure to keep an eye out for that and get yourself entered for one of these footballs. And tell your friends, if they don't know about us, if they want a football, I'll let you know very soon how to get entered for that drawing. So again, let's try this one more time. Thank you all very much for being here. I appreciate it so very much. Make sure that you keep an eye on all the socials. Check out the YouTube channel. New video coming out the end of this week, and we'll be back next week for another edition of On the Swivel. I'm Randy. This is a Damn Beast Media, and I appreciate you being here. Go Dogs!